Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by. We're going to check out ShadowDark. This is the new Kickstarter that's kind of taken the internet by storm. Over 500,000 in the Kickstarter. I checked out the game, it looks very cool. I'm very interested in running it, so I thought I'd go through the rules and get myself ready to run and do a review of those. So let's take a look. So the basic premise is this is old school gaming using new edition rules. And I like what they've done here with encumbrance. Tracking encumbrance, you can carry a number of items equal to your strength stat or 10. And strength stats are like 5e D&D, where they go from 3 to 18. Typical clothing doesn't take up a slot, and neither does your backpack. Items like coins can take 100 coins to a slot. A few things like arrows can take 20 to a slot, etc. How does turns go? Player turn, count down any timers you have for your spells and other effects. You take an action and a move, so no bonus actions, just actions and moves. If you don't take an action, you can move twice. And they talk about near, we'll get to the distances, but that's basically 30 feet if you're using a grid and want to play that way. Morale is an important thing. Enemies who are reduced to half their ranks or half their hit points, you have a 15 wisdom check, or flee, 1 check for big groups. Dying exists, so if you get hit down to 0 hit points, you're dying, and you have D4 plus your con modifier before you're dead. On your turn, you can roll a D20, and on a 20 you rise with 1 hit point. Someone else can stabilize you with a 15 intelligence check. Distances, close is 5 feet, near is 30 feet, far within sight. Climbing half speed, just like normal, fall of 5 plus, falling D6 for 10 feet. Moving through, either through allies, a strength or dex check to move through enemies. Not specified what that check would be. Here's the difficulty checks are either 9, 12, 15, 18. It might be probably in the 12 range, but you could adjust it depending on who the enemy is, I'd say. Swimming is half speed, strength check in rough water. This is listed all the time later in the rules. I think rough water is probably the intent. Con check if you're holding your breath. If you fail, you take d6 damage per round until exiting the hazard. So I think it triggers once you have your first fail, you're going to continue taking it. Maybe you could also keep rolling con checks and take the damage when you fail and don't take it when you succeed. But I think it's the former, not the latter, in that regard. Spells, there's basically the equivalent of concentration is spell focus. You can't cast other focus spells while you're focusing. You make a spellcasting check at the start of your turn for the spell. If you were focusing, you do not lose the ability to cast a spell. We'll get to what that is here in a minute with spell casting. Okay, so that's right, like in the front cover of the Quickstart rules. And then we get into the rules themselves. And I won't repeat necessarily what we've covered before. Movement and actions. Rounds start with the GM and go clockwise, or later in the rules, it talks about how you roll an initiative check and you go clockwise from whoever got the highest initiative. This is probably the basics way of doing it, or simplified. All standard role-playing stuff here with dice and stats and checks and hit points. Really nice artwork. I'm looking forward to the Kickstarter and getting that book in my hands. It's going to look nice, I'm sure. Overview, you got name, ancestry, class, level, XP, alignment, DD, title, background stats, hit points. Armor class, regular 10 plus your dex mod. And first level characters add their con modifier to their hit points, but not any other level. So hit points will be quite a bit lower given that. And the classes also have lower dice. Starting gold is 2d6 times 5 to buy gear. Background can play kind of a role-playing aspect of your adventuring. You can roll that randomly if you like. Your stats are 3d6 in order. Optionally, if none of your stats are 14 or higher, you can roll a new set of 6 numbers. Ancestries, each ancestry takes up just a little block of text. Not a lot of text. I love the writing style in this. So concise, so to the point. So dwarf, common and dwarvish. You get plus 2 hit points. That's a lot, given how many hit points most creatures have. And you get to roll your hit points with advantage. That's really big too. Elves have common, elvish, and sylvan. Plus 1 bonus to attack rolls and ranged weapons. With ranged weapons. Or plus 1 bonus to spellcasting checks. That's nice. Goblins have common and goblin. Can't be surprised. Halflings have common, can turn invisible for 3 rounds. Half-orcs have common and orcish, +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with melee weapons. Humans have common language and 1 additional common language from page 29. And ambitious, you gain 1 additional talent roll at first level. Now we come to the classes, and each class takes just 1 page. So here's the fighter class. Proficient with all weapons, armor, and shields, D8. So there's a little bit lower hit dice there. They can carry more stuff. They could add their con modifier to their gear slots. So that's like, if positive, so 1 to 4 more slots. That's really handy. Plus they'll be very strong usually. They have weapon mastery in 1 weapon. That gives them +1 to attack and damage with that weapon. In addition, they add half of their level to those rolls. So that's a big delta to the other classes. And they have advantage on some strength and dex checks. Now this is an interesting feature of the system in that rather than having a table of how things get better, you roll talents randomly. So here you have 2d6 roll. Your most common roll is going to be a 7 on 2d6, so you get +2 strength, dex, or con. So, on some levels you get these abilities, some you get +1 melee and range attack bonus, some you get choose armor and get your armor class better, or 1 you get to choose whatever you want. Or on a 2, gain weapon mastery with 1 additional weapon, which I think is, they say weapon type here, but I think it means just weapon. All right, that was the fighter class. Now we're coming to the priest class. So there's the priest weapons, D6 for the priest. They know turn undead spell, it's a spell. They have to choose a god. They have to use their holy symbol when they make their spells. 2 tier 1 spells, and here's their talent increases. Spells go up to tier 5 for the highest tier spells at level 10. Character levels go up to level 10. Thief class. There's the thief's equipment. D4 for hit points. Backstabbing is only when your target's unaware. Thievery, there's no skills. So you just have ability checks, but they have advantage on ability checks to do a lot of their thievery type stuff. And they can get initiative to advantage to initiative rolls. Their backstab can do even more damage, etc. And then here's the wizard. Dagger and staff, their only weapons, no armor. D4 for hit points. Quite a few languages, 4 additional languages. They can learn spells from scrolls, so that's a big boon. They can end up learning a lot of spells. And when you know spells, you can just cast them. There's no slots. So you can cast whatever you know until you fail a check, and then you can't cast that anymore until you have a rest. They know 3 tier 1 spells, and they go up to tier 5 in the end. And their talents are make a random magic item. That's cool. Intelligence stat or spellcasting ability check. Advantage on casting 1 spell they know. Or an additional wizard spell of any tier they know. Talent or +2 points to distribute to their stats. Titles, these are cool. This gives a real, first edition D&D feel to it. Alignment, chaotic, lawful, neutral, which is like evil, good, neutral. Kind of chaotic and evil are interchangeable, and lawful and good are interchangeable. List of languages here. Deities, I like this. There's the 4 lords, which are lawful and neutral. And then there's the 3, the dark trio, which are chaotic or evil. And then 2 lost gods. That's really nice. Really neat. Okay, gear. Caltrops. You can throw those on the ground, and a living creature who steps on them takes damage, and movement speeds halved for 10 rounds. Coins are what we used to in 5th edition. 1 gold is 10 silver, is 100 copper. Crowbar gets advantage on prying open stuff. Flint and steel automatically lights a fire. Lanterns cast light up to double near. So near being 30 feet, that'd be 60-foot distance. Take oil, you can shutter them. There's oil that you can cover a close area and burn for 4 rounds. And then a torch sheds light in a near area, or about 30-foot radius. Burns for an hour. So there's no dim and bright light, there's just a light or dark. There's your basic gear. You can buy a crawling kit when you're deciding what to buy. 7 gold, 7 gear slots, get you the basics for adventuring. Armor, there's leather, chain, plate, and leather is 1 gear slot, basically 1 more armor class point. Chainmail is 2 slots and 3 armor class points. I'm surprised it's the full dex mod and not a reduced dex mod, but it does give disadvantage on stealth, so that'll hurt you if you're trying to sneak around, and disadvantage on swimming. And then plate mail, 3 slots, a flat 15, dex doesn't help, no swimming, you're just going to sink, and disadvantage on stealth. I don't like how in 5th edition, you can wear plate mail and a whole bunch of gear and just swim just fine. Shield, plus 2 to armor class. Mithril, times 4 on these costs for chainmail and plate mail. 1 less gear slot, and no penalty on swimming. Then we come to weapons. Warhammer, I'm surprised it's not versatile like the other ones are. Bastard Sword, for example, is D8, D10. I guess Longsword is actually versatile in D&D, and there is no Bastard Sword. But it'd be nice to see a Warhammer that's like D8, D10 versatile. Great Axe could just be called an axe because it's versatile, D8, D10. Finesse, you can use your strength or your dex. You normally don't add your ability modifier to damage, only do the attack. Loading, like a crossbow takes a loading. What else? Anything else? Nope, just crossbow. And you have to forego your moving to reload. Thrown weapon, ranged attack using strength. The ranges are simple, basically crossbow, a javelin even, a longbow, short bow. If you can see them, you can throw it at them or fire it at them. And then daggers near, so some small thrown weapons are near. Some random tables, there's lots of random tables near, they're really cool. Advancement, you get talents at every odd level as you're advancing. You get XPs based on the treasures and the boons that you find. And basically each clutch of treasure is 1 XP. So you get 10 of those, you can go up to 2nd level. From 2nd to 3rd, you'll need 20 of them. Better treasure can be up to 3 XPs, or even up to all the way up to 10 XPs for like epic artifact-like treasure. Talent roll, duplicate talent stack unless noted. Your hit dice increase, and they don't use your con except at 1st level. Gameplay. Advantage and disadvantage like D&D. They cancel like D&D. When you get a D20 roll, it shows 20. It's an automatic success, a critical hit. A nat 1 is a critical failure. It says might even strike an ally, but there's no rules for that in this starter set. It might be in the full rule set. D6 decider, roll a D6 roll. 1 through 3 is worse. 4 through 6 is good. Luck tokens, unlike advantage in D&D or inspiration in D&D, it's a reroll instead of granting an advantage. You can have just 1 at a time. You can give it to others. Using stats, pretty much what you'd expect from D&D. The only ones, if you're familiar with D&D 5e, the only ones that are slightly different is use intelligence for first aid instead of wisdom, and use intelligence for finding food and water instead of wisdom as you'd expect for survival in 5e. Making checks when to roll. So I really like this. Usually you succeed at what you're trained to do without needing to roll a check. I think that's really good. Wizards always able to read magical ruins. Thieves always able to find traps if they're searching the right area. If they take time to scan for threats, they'll see it. If they search a wall for a secret door, they'll find it. So I like that. That's really cool. DCs are 9, 12, 15, 18. Opposed checks, you reroll ties, unlike in D&D where a tie makes whatever the check was unchanged. Like if a door is closed and 2 people are pushing on it, tie results in the door staying closed. If 2 people are pushing from different directions. Time is in real time. Time passes in the game world at the same pace as passing in the real world. If you can't track real time in your game, assume 1 hour is equal to 10 rounds. And that probably is right. You get through 10 rounds of exploration in an hour. Time passes every moment in the game, doesn't have to be accounted for in real time. So if you need to fast forward hours, days, of course you can do that. Turn order initiative. So here it says to roll initiative at the beginning of any conflict, basically. And here it's slightly different than the fast play rules, the very basics in the beginning where you start with the DM and go around. Instead, you start with whoever rolls highest and go around. Player turn, we talked about what they do. The DM just checks for random encounters and then does the actions for all the creatures that the DM has. Encounters. Okay, so crawling arounds, it's not like actually combat, but you're exploring, you're moving about as far as you can move in around the combat. You need light to see. It's total darkness outside that. You count down light sources in real time, but use your discretion and avoid being punitive. Should only be one active light timer, except in rare cases, though. So if you have a torch halfway burned down and you want to light a second torch, that should burn down in half an hour. But if you're down to 5 minutes, maybe that first one burns out right when you light the second one. So you just have one timer that way. And you're not being punitive to the characters. Total darkness. If you're not darkness adapted, you have disadvantage on most tasks. The inverse is not true, though. If you are darkness advantaged, you don't get advantage on creatures. Also, the environment becomes deadly when it gets dark. So you do a random check for an encounter every round, and it's a 1 in 6 chance every crawling round. Movement, distances are the same. All this stuff we covered before. Here's where they say a strength check no matter what, but I think only in turbulent water we want to redo that. You can regroup at any time. And while crawling, characters can take actions that might include prying a gem from a statue, sneaking up on a slumbering manicore, swimming in the bottom of an oily pool of water, tapping on a suspicious wall to check for a hidden door, etc. Resting. You consume a ration and sleep for 8 hours. It can be broken up with light and routine tasks, but each stressful interruption, you have to make a check, a DC 12 con check, and if you fail, you consumed the ration but gain no benefit from the rest. If you rest successfully, never fail a check, never interrupted, then you regain all lost hit points and recover any stat damage that was not permanent. Okay, danger level. Resting in a dangerous environment. It's going to be random checks. Could be as often as every hour. So 8 checks in a deadly environment if you're resting in the middle of a dungeon. Campfires, you can combine 3 torches into a campfire that can't be moved once lit. It lasts up to 8 hours while at least one character remains near it, and it lights out to the near distance. Stealth and surprise. Dex checks to go undetected by other creatures with an eyesight or earshot. You can't hide while other creatures are able to see you. Detecting requires you to actively look or listen. If you look in the right place, you will know there's something there. Otherwise, you must succeed at a wisdom check. Surprise. A creature begins its turn undetected has the advantage of surprise. They take 1 turn before the combat starts. The creature has advantage on attack rolls against surprised targets. Attacking from hiding gives away the attacker's position, however, and on to combat. So you first determine surprise. You do a new initiative. Combat turns 1 action, 1 move, or 2 moves if you don't take your action. Melee attacks is a d20 plus strength plus talent bonuses, and the damage doesn't get a modifier. Ranged attacks, same thing, no modifier. When you cast a spell, so when you cast a spell, you're making a spell check. It's almost, think of it like rolling to attack. So it's not necessarily that your spell doesn't really function like you want it to, but it doesn't hit the target, cause the target damage. You can do improvised actions, multitasking, small parallel tasks, such as standing up, speaking, etc. Oh, including activating magic item or quaffing a potion, shouldn't take your full action. Damage, weapons or spells damage dice, plus your talent bonuses. So you don't get your ability bonuses, but you do get your talent bonuses on damage. You can choose to knock your creature out instead of killing them at 0. A nat 20 is a critical hit. You double the weapon damage dice. For a spell, you may double 1 of its numeric effects. Terrain can give disadvantage. So if you're shooting into cover, disadvantage on your attack. And of course, you can move only half your normal movement in difficult terrain. Morale we covered before. At 0, you go to dying. You have D4 plus con modifier rounds before you are dead, during which time someone can try to stabilize you, or if you roll a 20, you come back. Casting spells. Takes your action. Wizard is D20 plus your intelligence modifier, and the DC is the level of the spell plus 10, I believe. Priestess wisdom, yeah, here we go, 10 plus spells tier. So if you succeed, your spell takes effect. So you'll see damage from spells and there's no save associated with them. It's really like the caster's rolling the check to hit. If you fail your check, the spell does not take effect. You can't cast that spell again until you complete a rest. A critical success, you do more damage. Critical failure, if you roll a nat 1, the spell does not take effect. If it was a focus spell, the spell immediately ends. And this is where you don't lose the spell. If you fail a focus check, you don't lose a spell. Spell immediately ends. Okay. Wizard spells. If the spell was a wizard spell, you can't cast that spell again until you successfully complete a rest. You must also roll on the wizard mishap. So 1 gives you a mishap. And a priest, you can't cast that spell again until you complete a ritualistic penance to your deity and successfully complete a rest. And the penance sacrifice value is listed here. It'll get expensive to be a priest if you're not rolling good. Wizard mishaps can be pretty bad. You can take damage. You can target yourself with the spell. You can target a random ally with the spell. You can't cast a spell for a week. A random piece of your gear disappears forever, and it just keeps getting worse. Scrolls and wands. You can use them to cast the spells if the spell is on your list. Still, it's DC 10 plus the tier to cast it, so you don't get a free cast out of it. Scrolls are used up. If you fail an attempt on a wand, it stops functioning until you complete a rest. On a critical failure, the wand breaks and permanently ceases to work. So 1 in 20 uses of wands is going to make it go away. Spell attributes. Got the ranges. Self-range means only you. Ongoing effects of the same spell, only 1 at a time. Can't cast other focus spells while focusing. You can end it any time. Failure. Okay, focus. Spell ends. If you're focusing, you do not lose the ability to cast the spell. So when you're making focus checks and you fail one of those, you can still cast the spell. But if you critically fail on a check, it's a standard critical failure, so you can't cast anymore, and you have a mishap. If you take damage or become distracted while focusing, you must immediately make a check. And this is so any damage. And that check's not easy, so it'll be easier to interrupt spells for sure. In 5e, there's so many ways to make yourself really good at those checks. It's hard to get interrupted sometimes. So looking at the spells, we got Acid Arrow doing d6 damage. So again, there's no save or anything. It's per round. The caster, if he successfully makes a check, you're going to take d6 damage out to far range. And it's going to keep going as long as they keep focusing. So you're going to want to stop that focusing, because that could add up in a hurry. Alarm spell, magic bell sounds in your head. Alter Self. You can create functional gills, bear claws, etc. This lasts for 5 rounds and doesn't require focus. Augury, a wheel woe answer. Bless, you get a luck token. Blind Deafen, which you can see in range is blind or deafened, and it's for focus as long as you focus on it. And the range is near, so that's like basically 5 feet away from you. Burning Hands is, oh no, near is 30 feet, sorry. Burning Hands is close, so anyone within 5 feet of you is going to take d6 damage. It doesn't really say, it says all creatures within the area. Unleashing a circle of flame that fills a close area around where you stand. Interesting. I'm not sure. They'll talk about near areas and far, well, near areas. A close area could be a 5-foot cube, or it could be the whole 5 feet all the way around you. I think it's just one 5-foot cube. Charm Person, you beguile a humanoid to level 2 or lower if you make your check. And that's for d8 days. Cleansing Weapon, you do additional damage for 5 rounds. Cure Wounds, you heal d6 equal to 1 plus half your level, so 1 at first, 2 at second, 3 at fourth, etc. Detect Magic. You detect the presence of magic. Detect thoughts, which you can see, immediate thoughts. They can make a wisdom check at each of their turns to tell that you're doing it. Featherfall's just the caster, and it descends so they can land safely. You may make an attempt to cast this spell when you fall. So there's no reactions in the game, but this one kind of is like a reaction in that one sentence right there. Fixed object, floating disc, carry more equipment out of the dungeon. Hold person, you paralyze a creature level 4 or lower that you can see if you make your check. So basically, there's no save. Whoever gets hit by that's paralyzed. If the spellcaster makes a save, and someone's going to have to go interrupt that spellcaster. Hold portal, it's just a strength check versus your spellcasting check to open. That's pretty easy to open out, I'm afraid. I'd like to see that go up a little bit. I read. Maybe strength check versus your spellcasting check plus 5 or plus 10. Holy weapon plus 1 attack and damage. Weapon becomes magical, it has plus 1 to attack for 5 rounds. Invisibility is 10 rounds and ends if you attack or cast. A knock basically drops all mundane barriers. Doesn't overcome the hold portal spell necessarily. Should say that. Levitate. You can float a near distance or 30 feet, which against solid objects to move horizontally. Light spell, 1 hour will time. That's a pretty strong spell given that you don't want your torches to ever go out. Mage armor. Ooh, that's pretty strong armor class, up 14. That's like 1 shy of plate armor. 18 if you get roll 20 on your check. Magic missile. This one gives you advantage to cast it, so this one will be taken by all spellcasters, I imagine, all wizards. And it just basically automatically hits for d4 damage if you roll your check. Mirror image. I like how this is done. Each time a creature attacks, the attack misses and causes one of the duplicates to evaporate. It doesn't speak to spells, so I don't know. I think this is the only thing that makes them go away. Misty Step, not a bonus, it's just your action. Teleport near distance, so 30 feet. Protection from evil. Kind of what you'd expect there. Shield of Faith, plus 2 to armor class for 5 rounds. Silence. So here's an area that's a near cube. I think that'd be a 30-foot cube, roughly. And then we got Sleep. This is interesting. This is a near cube extending from you. I would think a 30 by 30 cube adjacent to you. Just like the old 4th edition blast spells. Number of living creatures in the area up to your level. And if they're level 2 or less, they are to sleep. And evidently forever. No duration, they just stay until they're injured or vigorously shaken. Or I'd give it some sort of time duration. Smite does an extra d6 damage. No, it's just a straight d6 damage. Turn undead. It's a charisma check opposed by your spellcasting check. If they fail by 10, they're burned up. Otherwise, they flee for 5 rounds. Web is a 30 by 30 cube. Zone of Truth. Must speak the truth. And that's it. That is the end. I love this super easy character sheet. We're going to play this game. As I'm miking this video, we're going to play a game of this hopefully next weekend, the 11th of March. If you see the video and you'd like to play, reach out and let me know. There's a couple spots open right now. They'll probably fill up pretty quick, though. I'm going to do another video on the DM Quickstart rules. And then after we play the first adventure, including the DM Quickstart rules, I'll do a video on that for DM tips for that. So I really like this. Looking forward to playing it. And I'll let you know how it goes. Thank you for watching.